Welcome to the DCTV News at Noon program. I'm Kelsey Kiesling.
And I'm Kendra Cook. Dolores County Broadcasting Network is the producer of DCTV with support from the Southwest TV Translator Association.
If you have a news topic or event you'd like to see covered, give us a call. The studio number is 677-4119.
Today's show runs Thursday at noon and is uploaded to our YouTube channel and our DCTV News at Noon Facebook page to watch on demand. Today is September 20th, 2018. And now the news at noon.
From the Cortez Journal, a Texas man suspected of drunken driving suffered serious injuries Tuesday night after losing control of his vehicle on a mountain road north of Silverton and careening more than 130 feet up an embankment. Colorado State Patrol Trooper Jeff Chmielewski said a white 2003 Dodge Ram was headed toward Silverton on San Juan County Road 2 at milepost 1. At an extremely high rate of speed around 10:30 p.m. The driver lost control of the vehicle for more than 325 feet before skidding off the right side of the road. The vehicle rolled about 130 feet up an embankment, indicative of extremely high rates of speed, before coming to a rest on its roof, Chmielewski said. The driver, identified as Ustalkitowa Davison, age 41, of Odessa, Texas, suffered serious injuries. A 22-year-old passenger from Silverton suffered serious injuries, and a 19-year-old female passenger from Durango suffered minor injuries. Chmielewski said authorities are not releasing names of passengers. All three were transported to Mercy Regional Medical Center. A spokesman for Mercy said Davison was listed in fair condition Wednesday afternoon. Alcohol and excessive speeds are considered factors in the crash, which remained under investigation Wednesday. Chmielewski said, no one in the vehicle wore seatbelts, he said. No other cars were involved in the crash.
From the Durango Herald, photo Sean Stanley. Opponents of a proposed $1.6 billion tax hike for schools say the November ballot question uses bad math. The ballots, however, are already printed. An opposition group, Blank Check, Blatant Deception, Vote No on 73, is playing a legal and political hand that proved successful in Arizona last month. Colorado's Amendment 73 asks voters to change the state constitution to raise income taxes on high earners, as well as hike the state's corporate tax rate to improve K-12 education. Called Great Schools, Thriving Communities, the ballot measure says it would impose a tax surcharge on earners of more than $150,000 a year, ranging from 0.37% to 3.62%, depending on income. The corporate tax rate is said to increase by 1.37%. Blank Check, however, argues that spin. The existing corporate tax rate is 4.63%. The ballot question, if passed, would raise it to 6%, which is, on one hand, an increase of 1.37 percentage points. But on the other hand, the percentage increases in how much is charged is nearly 30%. The Secretary of State's office rejected the argument Wednesday morning, noting the deadline for challenges passed in January, and absentee ballots to service members and other overseas Coloradans have already been mailed out. A request at this late hour obviously would greatly impact the process, Suzanne Stert, the Deputy Secretary of State, wrote in an email to John Anderson, the lawyer for Blank Check. Anderson argued Tuesday that the Colorado Supreme Court has also made clear that a court should resolve these matters before an election, even if the statutory ballot title challenge process has expired. Blank Check is considering its next step. It's clear that Amendment 73's ballot title is inaccurate, deceptive, and deeply flawed, said Dave Davia, co-chair for Blank Check and executive vice president and CEO of the Colorado Association of Mechanical and Plumbing Contractors. All options are on the table. In the meantime, we will continue to educate Colorado voters to Amendment 73's unprecedented deception and deceit. Great Schools, Thriving Communities didn't sound worried about a late torpedo before Election Day, saying Amendment 73 supports students across Colorado by having big corporations and developers, those that are behind these attacks, pay their fair share to alleviate underfunded schools, said Great Schools supporter Donald Anderson of Fort Collins, one of the original proponents of the ballot question. Colorado has one of the fastest growing economies in the country, yet we spend less on education now than we did before the recession. He added Amendment 73 will give schools the funding they desperately need to recruit and retain highly qualified teachers, strengthen science, math, vocational, literacy, and mental health programs, and provide a safe learning environment for all students.
Reported by the Durango Herald, the suspected ringleader of a hazing on a New Mexico high school soccer team faced criminal charges in a sexual misconduct case last year, but the case was dismissed, prosecutors and police records say. News of the charges come after a parent of a former player filed a federal lawsuit alleging a series of sexual assaults by the Hobbs High School boys soccer team as part of hazing rituals. In the 2016 incident on a school bus during a team road trip was caught on cell phone video. A bare-bottomed player sat on the back of the head of a freshman player as others held him down, the Hobbs News-Sun reported Wednesday.
Reported in the Journal and Herald, photo Jerry McBride. It's official. The monsoon has been declared a bust. Oh yeah, it was a bust, said Megan Stackhouse, a meteorologist with the National Weather Service in Grand Junction. Definitely not a good monsoon season. The news comes as no surprise to residents in southwest Colorado who since the spring have been living in an area listed as being in exceptional drought, the U.S. Drought Monitor's highest level, D4. But for months, forecasters held out hope the monsoons would arrive this summer to quench the parched landscape of southwest Colorado. The Climate Prediction Center in May released a report that said the region was expected to receive above average precipitation from the monsoons in July and August and even into September, as we reported here. Those predictions obviously never panned out. According to a weather station at the Durango La Plata County Airport, only 0.88 inches of rain fell in July, about 0.84 inches below average. August didn't improve the situation with only 0.44 inches of rain recorded at the weather station in August, about 1.75 inches below the normal. Since January 1st, only 4 inches of rain have fallen at the airport weather station, more than 7 inches below the normal. Stackhouse said a high-pressure system blocked moisture from southwest Colorado, which is why the monsoons were never able to get started. Typically, the high-pressure system is situated to the southeast over the high plains. This summer, the high-pressure system was a little too far west, Stackhouse said, which blocked moisture from making it to the region. We had a few good days, she said, but that high just blocked everything. The last time Durango had any rain was September 9th, when about a half an inch fell. North-southwest Colorado was expected to see scattered rain on Wednesday, but not connected to any monsoon pattern. The outlook for the next 2 weeks is hot and dry. Windy conditions should start up early next week and are expected to bring an element of fire danger again. It's definitely a big concern, especially with those windy conditions returning, Stackhouse said. If you're interested in learning more about weather patterns and manipulations under the governmental programs such as HARP, SMAC, and HAMMER, go online and do some research yourself. It might surprise you. We'll have more on what NWS tells us is ahead in our local forecast in just a bit.
Reported by the Cortez Journal, a woman who helped kidnap Elizabeth Smart and stood by as the Utah girl was sexually assaulted was released from prison Wednesday amid concerns that she remains a threat 15 years after the chilling crime. Wanda Barzee, age 72, quietly left the state prison in the Salt Lake City suburb of Draper, avoiding a throng of reporters gathered outside. Court documents say she will stay in unspecified emergency housing chosen by her probation officer until another home is approved. Barzee's release followed a surprise announcement last week that Utah authorities had miscalculated her sentence and she would be freed about 6 years earlier than expected. Under the terms of her release, Barzee must undergo mental health treatment and not contact Smart and her family. Smart, now a 30-year-old mother, speaker, and activist, has said she was shocked and disappointed by the announcement of Barzee's release. Smart recalled some of the horrors she experienced as a 14-year-old when she was snatched from her Salt Lake City home in 2002 by Barzee's then-husband, street preacher Brian David Mitchell. Smart said last week that Barzee saw her as a slave during the 9 months she was held by the couple and encouraged Mitchell to rape her. And now let's take a look at the weather.
The National Weather Map shows severe weather and flash flooding threats across the upper Midwest today, with moderate risk for flash flooding in places over central Oklahoma on into Friday, with potential flooding conditions seen back into southeast New Mexico and across parts of Texas, while the Gulf Coast and Florida remain in the same pattern they've seen recently, with clouds and rains possible. And that high pressure continues to keep the western U.S. warm and dry. Regionally speaking, improving weather conditions are expected throughout eastern Utah and western Colorado today. The western edge of cloud cover associated with our recent moisture was located roughly along the Colorado-Utah border. While valley locations have remained dry early this morning, a bit of precipitation has continued to reach the ground above 11,000 feet or so. With temperatures in the lower 30s on some mountain peaks, precipitation at Monarch and Wolf Creek Pass might show some snow above 13,000 feet this morning. Skies will clear as moisture is pushed east of the Rockies. Some stronger winds will remain along the US 40 corridor, and another breezy afternoon is expected. Wind gusts will not be quite as strong as yesterday, however, and a red flag flag warning will not be needed. Clear skies are expected overnight into Friday morning with dry air in place and relatively light winds. Cooling is expected and low temperatures could end up a bit lower than forecast. Some afternoon cloud cover is expected to build over the higher terrain on Friday. Moisture will be extremely limited. However, an isolated shower or two will be possible in the eastern San Juan Mountains during the afternoon hours. So specifically looking to our local DCTV 5-day outlook, it shows today sunny with a high near 76, east-southeast winds 5 to 15 miles an hour becoming west-northwest in the morning. Tonight clear with a low around 44 degrees. That's cold for us. North-northeast winds 5 to 15 miles an hour, with Friday sunny again with a high near 78, northeast winds 5 to 10 miles an hour becoming southwest in the afternoon. Friday night clear with a low around 49. Southwest winds 5 to 10 miles an hour becoming southeast after midnight. And then Saturday sunny with a high near 78. South-southeast winds 5 to 10 miles an hour becoming southwest in the afternoon. Saturday night clear with a low around 50. Sunday sunny with a high near 78 again. Sunday night mostly clear with a low around 51. Monday sunny with a high near 77. Monday night mostly clear with a low around 49. Tuesday sunny with a high near 75, and Tuesday night mostly clear with a low around 47. And so did you get some rain yesterday at some point? The studio shows we have 7/10 of an inch over the whole month so far. It did rain in town yesterday morning, and reporting from southwest of town, some gentle afternoon rain persisted for quite a while out towards Cedar Point. Be sure to share your photo post on our new group, Dove Creek Local Weather Pics, on Facebook. Some beautiful photos our viewers outdoor scenes like this early sunset shown between the rains. And now back to the news.
From the Durango Herald, a $3.2 billion federal grant has been awarded to construct a state veterans cemetery in the northern New Mexico town of Angel Fire. U.S. Senators Tom Udall and Martin Henrich, along with U.S. Representative Ben Ray Lujan, on Wednesday announced approval of funding for the cemetery through a grant from the Department of Veterans Affairs. Udall says the facility will make it easier for many veterans to visit the grave sites of loved ones. Angel Fire is about 90 miles from the nearest national cemetery in Santa Fe. The cemetery is designed to serve 15,700 veterans and family members eventually. Vietnam Veterans Memorial's State Park is located in Angel Fire. The annual Run for the Wall motorcycle caravan stops there on its way to Washington, D.C.
Reported in the Durango Herald, Dan Elliott, AP. Cyclists and hikers explored a newly opened wildlife refuge at the site of a former nuclear weapons plant in Colorado on Saturday, while a protester in a gas mask brought signs warning about the dangers of plutonium. With no fanfare, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service opened the gates of Rocky Flats National Wildlife Refuge on the perimeter of a government factory that made plutonium triggers for nuclear bombs for nearly 4 decades. Spread across a rolling, windswept plateau 16 miles northwest of downtown Denver, the refuge is a rare oasis of tall grass prairie with bear, elk, falcon, songbirds, and hundreds of other species. The refuge offers sweeping panoramas of the Rocky Mountain foothills and Denver's skyscrapers. You get these incredible views, said Jerry Jacka, who spent 2 hours mountain biking at the refuge on Saturday. Jacka said he was not worried about his safety despite lawsuits and protests by people who argue the government has not tested the refuge thoroughly enough to make sure people are safe using it. The government built plutonium triggers at Rocky Flats from 1952 to 1989, a history marred by fires, leaks, and spills. The plant was shut down after a criminal investigation into environmental violations. The U.S. Energy Department, which oversaw the plant, said it found 62 pounds of plutonium stuck in exhaust ducts of buildings. Rockwell International, the contractor then operating the plant, was fined $18.5 million after pleading guilty in 1992 to charges that included mishandling chemicals and radioactive materials. The weapons complex covered 2 square miles at the center of the site. It was cleaned up at a cost of $7 billion, but remains off limits to the public. The 8 square mile buffer zone surrounding the manufacturing site was turned over to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service for a refuge. About 10 miles of trails are now open at the refuge. Visitors are told to stay on the paths and not wander the grasslands. State and federal health officials say the site is safe, but some people worry that plutonium particles eluded the cleanup and could be sprinkled over the refuge, where hikers and cyclists could stir them up or track them home. At least 7 Denver area school districts have barred school-sanctioned field trips to the refuge. If inhaled, plutonium can lodge in lung tissue, where it can kill lung cells and cause scarring, which in turn can cause lung disease and cancer, according to the Federal Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. The opening was in the works for months, but was thrown into doubt Friday afternoon when Interior Secretary Ryan Zinke, who oversees the Fish and Wildlife Service, said he wanted to wait for more information about safety. An hour later, the Interior Department said a review was complete and the refuge would open. Department spokeswoman Faith Vandervoort did not respond to an email seeking more information about that review.
According to the Cortez Journal, significant improvement in 2018 state test scores has removed Dolores Elementary School from a Colorado watch list, school officials reported last week. And overall, the Dolores School District, RE4A, was the highest scoring district out of the 8 main school districts in the San Juan Board of Cooperative Educational Services region. Dolores Elementary's scores in math and English rebounded this year to an overall score of 62.5, reaching the state's top plan type known as Performance Plan. That's up from a 2017 score of 33.4 and the lowest plan type Turnaround. New Superintendent Phil Casper credited school staff, board, and former Superintendent Scott Cooper for the success. When factoring in scores from all testing grades, Casper noted that the Dolores District earned a rating of 67.7, outperforming regional districts Bayfield 65.3, Cortez 43.1, Dove Creek 60, Durango 59.5, Ignacio 46.8, Mancos 65, and Pagosa 64.1. Elementary school principal Gary Livick said he and staff were not surprised by the improved 2018 test scores because internal academic testing predicted an upward shift. He attributed the severe drop in test scores in 2017 to a high percentage of students who opted out of testing and a student body that was affected by a student's suicide. The school was in turnaround status for a year. The improved test results are sustainable, Livick said, and will put the district on track to regain the accredited with distinction rating, the state's gold standard that it achieved in 2011.
Dolores County BOCC end-of-the-month meeting was August 30th, and it was reported on by the Dove Creek Press by Tammy Barr. Here's a summary of some of the elements discussed. County Clerk Loretta Randolph began by discussing disability access for the parking lot and the building and the requirements for proper signage, as well as the need for a wheelchair-accessible space. Next was Senior Services Executive Director Nita Perkett, who brought updates on the parking lot construction being finished at the Senior Center/Pioneer Center, with the walking paths anticipated to be completed within a month. Julie Bingham is also progressing into her new role as director, officially taking over December 1st. CSU Dolores County Extension Administrative Assistant Oma Fleming, who is also the Dove Creek Mandatory Weed Control District Manager and the director of the Dolores County Fairgrounds, Fleming provided updates for mandatory weed control, commenting that most of the weeds have bloomed and fall is a good time to spray and that they will be winterizing soon. Ms. Fleming also reported that the fairgrounds has an awards ceremony and another event happening prior to the weather determining shutting the facility down to be winterized. Planning and GIS technician Amber Fisher touched on training of the new staff in the Sheriff's Office, as well as working on the transition to using Active 911, which is an upgrade from the current system which uses Google mapping information, which is not always correct. Steve Davis with Road and Bridge discussed the need to mark out an EMS landing zone, an LZ, for a helicopter near the Black Snag Pit in Disappointment District. Mining Safety and Health Administration, or MSHA, inspects the pits at the start and finish of a pit crushing job. MSHA is requiring the LZ because Black Snag is an hour and a half away from emergency services. There's no phone service at the pit, only radio communications. Road and Bridge are also required to contact the Sheriff's Office to get EMS on standby when they start and stop work every day. CSU Colorado Extension Director Gus Westerman talked about the effects of drought and how it can be considered an emergency situation. He also discussed 4-H and an AmeriCorps candidate being chosen. Dolores County Emergency Manager Keith Kiesling updated the BOCC on emergency service activities for the month. Finance and HR Specialist Lenore Carhart briefly discussed payroll scheduling changes and paying monthly bills. Dolores County Assessor Berna Ernst followed with an update on oil and gas reports from QEP. She discussed declaration of expenditures schedules, or DEX, and netback expense reports forms, or NERFs, and DEX and NERFs are used by the county assessor to determine how much to tax an oil and gas product sales. And after all reports, the subject of an e-waste drive was discussed. They looked at the list of fees associated with the e-waste drive and decided it would be cost prohibitive. There was discussion on the county already having a disposal system in place that is less expensive than the e-waste fees. They discussed the similarities and differences in the services before unanimously deciding against the e-waste drive. Since then, a meeting was held on September 4th and the 17th, with the next end-of-the-month BOCC meeting being held September 27th. The agenda will be posted on our DCTV News at Noon Facebook page.
And now for the Dolores County Sheriff's Roundup for the week of September 10th through the 16th. Received a report of careless driving on county roads in the Cajon area. Received a request for a welfare check on a local resident. A deputy located the subject and all was okay. RICO Search and Rescue was called out for a subject needing assistance in Montezuma County off of Highway 145. Dolores County Dispatch assisted with communications between search and rescue members and Cortez. That concludes today's roundup. Stay tuned for continued updates.
And today's High Canyon Country happenings. September 22nd, Sway Wild will be performing at Outlier Cellars in Mancos from 7 to 9 p.m. A $10 donation is suggested. The internationally acclaimed indie folk rock songwriter duo Mandy Furr and Dave McGraw will be performing with Thomas Lord on electric bass. September 22nd up in Norwood at the Wide Sky Arts Collective, there'll be live music with Jackson Emmer and the Swing State Ramblers from Carbondale, an up-and-coming singer-songwriter and his band, plus good barbecue and a pie auction, a fundraiser for Save Delivery. $30 for dinner and dancing, and will run from 5 to 11 p.m. And locally in Dove Creek, this Sunday is a benefit dinner to go style for the family of Kyle Gallion. He passed unexpectedly, leaving a wife and 2 young daughters, and that's September 23rd, Sunday, serving at 11 a.m. at the Dove Creek Superette parking lot. There'll be authentic red chili tortillas, dessert bake sale items as well. It's $6 per plate, and all proceeds go directly to the family. And all of these happenings are posted on our DCTV News at Noon Facebook page, along with the YouTube replays, weather, and original stories and local posts. To share your event or information, contact us by email, dcbnnews@gmail.com, or call the station 970-677-4119.
Thanks for tuning in. News at Noon airs at noon Monday through Thursday and is available online on our YouTube channel and our DCTV News at Noon Facebook page on demand.
And be sure to like us there on Facebook and join in on the news of our area, and of course, please share it with a friend.
For Kendra Cook with DCTV and the News at Noon program out of Dove Creek, USA, I'm Kelsey Kiesling. Thanks for watching.